I'm going to call the Ponca City Board of Education meeting to order. We're starting with the flag salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adam?
Please pray with me. Heavenly Father, be with this group tonight as we begin this meeting. Help us to remain vigilant in our call to serve public education in our community. Help us to make the decisions that will benefit and propel our school district in the correct direction. Father, we ask that you continue to blanket our community with your safety and grace. Help us to remember each student that we serve looks to us for hope and compassion. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Roll call.
Mr. Newsom?
Here.
Mr. Riley? Mrs. Rowland?
Present.
Mrs. Troop?
Present.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Here. Okay. Do we have any public comments? No. Nope. No public comments. Okay. Number 3, reports with potential board discussion. Number 1 is the Safety Action Plan. Adam Lemming.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for inviting me to speak on our safety action plan. What my intent was, instead of going through the same slides that we do year after year, talking about the drills that we do and the documentation that we keep, I thought I'd share a little bit of what we did prior to school and kind of what the mindset was going into the school year. As you know, our superintendent set out a directive that we had to, in the face of recent tragedies that have occurred across our country, to enhance and secure our buildings, harden our buildings as much as we can, and to remain vigilant on a number of different things that she identified in a well-written letter. It got me to thinking, what are we doing in our district in the way of prevention? And some of the things that we do as a district in the way of prevention, I think we do a really great job in this. Threat assessments, determining whether there's a valid or real threat, whether a student or patron is in an emotional state or in a plotting state. Some of those things that we work through with our administration. As you know, we also have 2 school resource officers in our district who do a great job. One of them's outside the door, so I'll try to keep the praise down because I'm trying to help him just continue to earn his keep, you know, each day, day in and day out. He gave me a smirk on that one. He is listening. Also, each of our entrances to our facilities has secure entrance with hardened glass. The few secure entrances that we don't have, one of them is in the house right now, and that's Wildcat Academy, but that is in the bond issue to get that addressed as well. But honestly, outside of vestibule, her metal door is probably one of the most secure doors in this district right now as it stands. We also employ lobby guard. We have a new initiative, not really a new initiative, just a renewed vigor to make certain all of our exterior doors in our buildings remain locked and closed at all time. And I know that myself and other district administrators and even site administrators are going around checking doors to help assist principals with that, because we just don't want any door to be unlocked or set open incidentally. Secure corridors, you know, we try to keep the passages between buildings as secure from outside guests as much as possible. You see examples of those at Roosevelt and high school. Badging is also a new initiative this year where we're requiring students to wear badges, and I know staff have been doing a great job of doing that as well for that. And then this is new this year, Wildcat Safety. We have employed 4 of our own safety officers at the high school that I think are doing a phenomenal job. If you've been up to the high school, I think our level of customer service for outside guests and patrons is at a whole new level, and the way that they work with our high school kids is it's incredible, just watching them work each day. But as I am in charge of safety for the district, I got to thinking, you know, we spend a lot of time in the prevention side of things, and we've really not yet, knock on wood, had to really work through what actually happens in the active event. And so one of the blessings that we had this school year with the late start was just this opportunity to gather each of our first responders and community partners together in this very room to kind of talk about what our school response should be or would be in a situation, and what we can expect from each of our partners that would assist us in that event. Currently, our school procedures, we employ a variety of different things, but the one thing that we have for an active shooter or an intruder on campus is what we call the ALICE system. It's an acronym for Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Evacuation. And then we had the opportunity to go around the room where we had local police, K County sheriffs, fire and EMS here. We had our transportation official, Randy Empting. We had a representative from the hospital. Was there anyone else I'm forgetting on that? We had about 40 people in this room. FEMA was here as well to kind of talk about what their response would be to an active shooter in our area. It was really, I thought, a really great opportunity for us to really kind of identify rally points. And I'm not going to go through each of the rally points and reunification points that we set up, but I'm just going to talk to you about what is a rally point. We had an opportunity to, in the event that we had to employ our ALICE training, 3 of those acronyms is to evacuate the building if you can safely. And so in those scenarios, we would have kids and adults evacuating through neighborhoods, and how would we as a district be able to respond to get those kids and teachers and staff to a reunification point in our community in the event that something tragic happened at those schools. So you can see here we worked through a variety of questions with our first responders and as district officials to come up with a good plan on what to do. And then we broke down and we looked at every school and every building in this district and kind of the logistical challenges each of these would face in the light of an emergency. For instance, I'm not going to go through each of them. This is Garfield Elementary. Each of our schools is a neighborhood school, and if we had a tragic event that occurred at each of those schools, you can imagine the congestion. That's already hard enough on back to school night or meet your teacher night to find a spot or get close enough to the school. But if we had to evacuate the entire school and get to a safe area, where are we going to send those kids? I don't think that's something appropriate to share in a public board meeting, because that's something we want to keep internal and keep between us and our first responders. I will tell you every situation is unique, depending on the situation that's involved, whether that's an active shooter that comes in through the front door, through a window, drives a car through a building, whatever. We talked about all of the situations. But we like I said, we went through each of the topographical maps, I still said that wrong, of all of the school sites to identify each of our rally points and reunification centers in the community. We spent a lot of time at the high school just looking at what we would do with 1,400 high school kids that would run through Overbrook and Roosevelt and through all the neighborhoods. How would we handle all that? And then we spent time talking about reunification needs, how our first responders could help assist us with that. One of the telling statistics that I felt encouraged by was within 5 minutes of the call center receiving a call for help or activating our RAFE panic button that we implemented this year district-wide, was we would have 3 to 5 beat officers in that building within 5 minutes. Within 15 minutes, we'd have about 20 to 30 officers, and within an hour, we'd have over 100 uniformed officers in our community. And not to mention, they would still be pouring in from Oklahoma City, Tulsa, OSBI, FBI. Each of the local municipalities would be sending people, Blackwell, Tonkwell, Newkirk, just like if our guys in Ponca City had to respond to something at Fairfax or Pawhuska, they would not hesitate to go assist in those communities. So we got to talk about reunification points. One of the things that we identified was not only were we going to have to be able to get those kids and staff picked up if there was an emergency, but we'd have to get them to an area that we could reunify them with parents or guardians as quickly as possible and as expedient as we needed to. On top of our emergency stuff, the not so fun stuff that we do every year, our annual trainings with bloodborne pathogens, safety procedures for, hazardous materials that we do each year with our GCN training. Each of our schools are mandatory to do 15 drills a year, including fire, tornado, shelter in place, lockdown. So our office operations is responsible for keeping that documentation. Obviously, this board's commitment and our community's commitment has been a continued capital improvements to enhance the safety and security of each of our buildings. You see that through our secure entrances at each of our elementary schools, secondary sites. We also have money in this last bond issue to improve some of those secure corridors at West and at Wildcat Academy, as I talked about earlier. Also, our office does the reporting to the State Department for all of the drills, making sure that people have done everything that they said that they've done. And then one of the not so fun things is how do we always improve and enhance communication? You know, on Friday we had a situation at the high school where we had a distraught student that the principal elected to lock down the school. Thought it was a great decision on his part, but through that process comes an opportunity to improve communication, because you know you have a variety of schools that either send kids to us, Pioneer Tech, University Center, or you have kids off campus for a variety of reasons, whether that's internships, work, or you know, athletics. So we've got opportunities to work on how do we communicate, make sure that we get that message out to each of those stakeholders so we know who's coming in on campus, who's leaving campus, who's getting into the building, who's trying to not get into the building. So that is our safety brief for this year for Ponca City Public Schools. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Judy, I know you have a good one.
No.
Okay.
Okay, well, that
Job,
was a
Adam.
good report.
Thanks.
Do we have any questions? Any other board members? Okay.
I don't have any questions, but I would like to say that I imagine going through all of that was really hard to do, even going through all those different scenarios and such. Like, it's just, I jotted down that it's a lot of work that goes into all those different scenarios and all those things.
Yeah, and I will tell you, I thought our first responders were more appreciative of holding that meeting. I think, for some reason, they had not been in the same room together to talk about this and work through each of our school sites. I thought it was really telling when we're going through each of the schools, and we get to Washington Pre-K, and Jennifer Dye was in there, and I remember this stuck out in my head is, you know, if we had to evacuate all those kids and those teachers, and those kids just run through the neighborhoods, some of them may not know their name, last name, mom and dad's name, where they live. So, you know, that kind of really set with our first responders, like, okay, what do we have to do to make certain that, one, that those kids feel safe, that they can approach a uniformed officer, and that was something that came out of that, because some of those officers may be off duty that try to come up and help. And, you know, what kind of logistical challenge is that when a non-uniformed adult tries to grab some 4-year-olds to get them to a rally point? So we you know, just were able to talk through that. A lot of those things come out through those discussions, and we're going to bring them all back around the wintertime, December, to go through some more. We'd like to start maybe unpacking what maybe happens at a Solon's or Robson, or how we deal with something like that.
Express our appreciation to them very much.
One thing I can say about that, after meeting with our first responders, any question we had just alleviated any fear. They are going to come and help us with a vengeance. You know, we don't have to worry about traffic. We don't have to worry about anything. Some of the words, they will command. They will take command of the streets. They will take command of the schools. So it was a huge relief. And our PCPD tactical team actually trained in Pohai one day before school started. And then throughout the year, they're going to go into our other sites and at least do a walkthrough so that they're familiar with our sites. The tactical team meets once a month, I do believe, for PCPD.
All right.
Hey, thank you, Adam. Okay, the second one is the Alternative Education Report by Carla Streeter.
All right. Okay. All right, so we were evaluated early this year. Usually it's April. Last year they came in September. So it was kind of you know, how you get in a groove of stuff and then unexpected. So still we got an effective rating. We got 68 out of 90 points. We were highly effective. Our appropriate program design, that's the time of the hours that we go, the days that we go, the students that we serve. Our faculty selection and development, we're allowed to pick people that we want. We're not just given, you know, whoever the high school doesn't want. We're allowed to interview and take applications. Our intake and screening process, that's the interviews our students that come to Wildcat. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, they have to interview. It's the interview process. We have a committee that interviews them. There's a questionnaire that the student fills out. There's one that the parent fills out. So there is a whole intake process that comes along with being at Wildcat Academy. Our state and local collaboration, our PI partners, we always get lots of praise for that. And all the people in the community that help us, we have so many people. So we were highly effective in that. Our instruction, we're teacher taught and online, so we kind of mix it up. So it's not just one or the other. Kids have the option, if there's teacher taught classes, if they want to take them, they can, or they can do it online. It's their choice. So that's, we were highly effective in that. And then our program evaluation, and what that is we did a climate survey, we did a parent exit survey, and then we used that information trying to improve our facilities. And one of our seniors, actually, they had, on our student survey, we asked them, what is something that you would like different here? And they wanted more comfortable seats. So Brenda, who is so awesome for us, I've said something to her, and she bought us 20 rolling chairs, and the kids were like, oh my God, you actually read that survey? Absolutely. So they were really excited, and we got new rolling chairs. So seniors got rolling chairs. So if you're a senior, you get a rolling chair. So it's a big deal now at school that all the seniors get a rolling chair. We were compliant in the ICAP process. Our arts education and our life skills instruction, I did not know that life skills instruction was supposed to be a weekly teacher-taught hands-on thing. So here's our plan to address that. ICAP, Mark Kimbrell has taken that over, and he is working with our Wildcat students. The first 2 days of school, we went into College Career Ready, and the students all created accounts, so we have started that process. We've at least got our accounts made, and we're gathering information to put into those. And that program just guides our students through the ICAP process and make sure that they have everything they need, and they have to have that to graduate this year. So we will make sure that they have that. Mr. Kimbrell and Ms. Fields are going to attend a workshop in October at Enid, and they're going to receive additional training and information on the ICAP process through College and Career Start. Our arts education, Taryn Lyles with the Ponca City Arts Council, Dr. Hawkins set me up with him, and he's going to work with us to provide an artist in residence, and we're super excited about this. The artist will come to Wildcat once a week, and our students are going to learn how to paint with acrylics. And then in the spring, we're going to have an art show at City Central. So that is going to fulfill all those. We'll be highly effective in that next year. And he actually is going to take some of our students to an art museum in either Tulsa or Oklahoma City, so they can see an actual art museum. So the kids are very excited about that. We'll do every 9 weeks. We'll switch out, so everybody has the opportunity to do that. And our kids at our alternative school love art, so they're super pumped. Life skills instruction, Miss Mallory is going to start teaching that. We've created a curriculum for that, and all of our students will participate. In this first 3 weeks, they're going to learn how to count back change, how to write a check, and how to use a debit card. So we're focusing this first 3 weeks on finances. Some of them don't know how to count change. So that's also going to be a job skill for some of them. So that is our plan to address our non-compliant areas. In 21-22, we had 120 students that we served. We had 53 graduates, and our graduation rate was 93%. And we actually had one that was a super senior. He came back and he graduated last week. He finished last week, so he'll count for last year's graduate. This year, we have 78 students currently enrolled. We have 8 attending Pioneer Tech. We have 14 involved in extracurricular activities at Pohai, and we have 4 doing concurrent. And we did not fill up. We tried to save some spots back because we were not encouraging freshmen to apply just because we want them to try the high school. You know, they're always, I'm scared. Well, go try it and then get back with us if your anxiety is, too much. So we only have 1 freshman right now, just because we encouraged them to try. And then I also reached out to the high school about who has not graduated that was supposed to graduate last year, and we'll be making some phone calls and trying to get some of those kids that didn't graduate last year so we can get them to come back to school and finish up. So our evaluation has changed. They're no longer using the evaluation rubric. Our evidence is submitted in an electronic binder. It was due September 1st. Dr. Hawkins has walked me through, I'm a panicker, And so she has had to talk me off the ledge several times, and she came over and helped me. We got it all turned in, and we hope it's right. We don't know yet, but we hope it's right. Then they extended the deadline till the 12th, but we're good. Ours is already in.
It's off your plate. There you go.
I just better to be early. So we are not actually evaluated this year, so they're not even going to look at our binder. Probably till after Christmas. So I was pretty proud of it, though. I thought we did a good job. I thought we did a good job on our binder. So I wanted to actually, I'm going to go back a little bit before I get to that. I want to brag on my teachers just a little bit. My teachers are amazing, and they do a whole lot of stuff. And one of the things that they do is for Ponca City Virtual. Those are still under the high school umbrella. You know, they're not alt-ed because my teachers are not only allowed to have 15 students apiece. They're not allowed to have any more through alt-ed rules. So those virtual students are still enrolled through the high school. They are not enrolled through Wildcat Academy. But my teachers tutor them. So my teachers stay till 4 o'clock, Monday through Thursday, and provide tutoring for all of the virtual students. There are 58 students right now enrolled virtually. And so my teachers provide the tutoring for any subject. We had somebody come up today for character ed. They provide all the tutoring for that. My English teacher grades all of the English papers for the Edgenuity program. She graded over 3,000 papers last year. So she grades them for the high school, for Wildcat Academy, and for the virtual students. So she grades all of the English papers. My Wildcat Academy teachers, when a student wants to be virtual, they have to interview. My teachers are the ones that sit in on that interview. They're the ones that set them up with an account. I do a grad check on them. My teachers put them in their classes. They get their start dates. We're the ones that set those virtual students up, and that's throughout the year. And that's not, I mean, that's really not part of their job, but they are amazing, and they know that it has to be done, and they step up and take care of business. They also create all the courses in Edgenuity. So Edgenuity's the program that we use, and you can kind of add and take stuff off. And so my teachers go in. You know, we found out right before school started that they were archiving all of the English, science, and I believe social studies classes, and so they had to go in and create all new courses. Because we use them and the high school uses them also, and we create them for the high school. So my teachers take care of the high school Edgenuity courses also. And then they train anybody new to Edgenuity. My teachers train them in how to use Edgenuity, and then they call and ask questions, and my teachers answer all those questions. And then I monitor those virtual students weekly. I monitor their progress. I get on every Friday and look at their progress and make phone calls if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So the virtual program, you know, I feel like it's successful, but I feel like it's successful because my teachers are helping out and making that happen. So I just kind of want to give a kudos to them. Anybody got any questions?
I do.
Okay.
Those 3 things that you were graded down on, did you know about those ahead of time?
The ICAP, I did know about ICAP, and we had started, what we did was we did a paper. We were collecting paper binders, and that's not what they wanted. They wanted electronic binders that could go with them through the school. Okay. And then the arts education, we have an art teacher, you know, and we had our art showcased, and I thought that was good enough, but it was not. They wanted somebody coming in. Sometimes I feel like they kind of nitpick a little bit. They kind of nitpick me. And then the life skills, I had no idea it was supposed to be teacher taught. You know, we have an actual life skills course in Edgenuity, and I thought that was good enough. Okay. And we have people come in, you know, the National Guard came in and did a finance class, and, you know, we have our pie partners, our bank pie partner come in, but that's not what they wanted. And I did not know that. Yeah. So we do have that now, and I did put it in our electronic binder for our evaluation for this coming year.
So you were doing it, but it wasn't
It wasn't what they wanted.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why your teachers are amazing is because they have an amazing leader.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Judy.
You do
appreciate
such a
that
great,
very much.
you do a great job.
Well, I get a lot of support from you guys. No, she's not.
No.
I get a lot of support from you guys, and I very much appreciate it. I'm not micromanaged. I'm able to do what needs to be done and take care of my people, and I really appreciate that. very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, as far as Carla's concerned and all the teachers, they have a unique ability of building relationships with any student that walks through that door, and they all love them. They love being there.
Yeah, they do.
Well, one thing I like is you monitor the kids that maybe didn't graduate, and I know you've worked with them for years. You try to bring them back to finish so they can get their diploma.
We do, and
And
over
I
the
appreciate
summer,
that.
I actually had a student, overheard her telling another student in the cafeteria, Miss Streeter really wanted me back, because she dropped out last year. And I saw her cousin at Walmart, and I'm like, you tell her she should come back, you know. And every time I go to Walmart over the summer, I tell her. And so she came back, and she told us that Miss Streeter really wanted me back, because she, you know, would tell Veronica. And I'm like, you're right, I really did want you back.
Yes.
You know, so they feel wanted, and that's important to some of these kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Good
you.
report.
Thank you. I will steal that.
Okay. Okay, number 4, superintendent's report with potential board discussion. The first thing she's going to talk about is the proposed board policy changes.
Exciting with new board policies, and Christy sent you the total recommendations for policy changes, and then we've also sent you a summary. And each administrator that's really over each policy has created a summary and will present on each section. And all of the policies that will be presented tonight are required policies due to legislation. There's nothing that's optional, but you may have some questions. We modify or tweak things that work for us, so that work however we conduct business in our district. So we'll go ahead and get started, and I'm up first. And first we have the Oklahoma Equal Opportunity Education Scholarship Act. And we are not going to read these summaries to you, we're just going to talk to you about them. Basically, the Oklahoma Equal Opportunity Education Scholarship are tax credits that were previously only available to private schools. Now they are available to public schools. In addition to any procedure that we have for accepting gifts, whether it be an endowment or a charitable contribution or whatever, the district now has guidelines for the district and for our Ponca City Public School Foundation to accept financial contributions allowing for tax credits from donors. Public schools can take up to $200,000 in tax credits per year, and the entire state $25 million per year. So our policy outlines definitions, application, details of how to be approved by the Oklahoma Tax Commission, reporting, notification requirements, and there's a donor form in the policy that accompanies the policy. So does anyone have questions on Equal Opportunity Education Scholarship Act? All right, so we're going to move on, and next we have Mr. Ryan Dooley. He's going to talk to you about internet technology system safety that's been revised and it's required.
This is kind of an update to an existing policy we already have, so it just kind of clarifies some wording to kind of comply with current legislation that's going on. And basically, what it gives us the ability for, when it comes to internet filtering, the ability to choose inappropriate for what's for our district. Now, the other things we can't change are based on the Children's Internet Protection Act, which is federal, and those are the terms that are listed. Those are, those are defined as far as what we can look for. But if we can decide what's inappropriate for our students in our district, and even by grade level. The last part of it is an addition to this policy. It has to do with the libraries, the digital libraries that we provide. And basically what it entails is we have to provide proof that we are following the requirements for SIPA and the technology policy, as well as the libraries meet the Oklahoma state law and statutes. And if we have any problem providing that, if a vendor doesn't provide that for us, we can report them in terms with this policy, and then that we're free and clear in that point. We're just kind of making sure that the libraries that the students use are not providing objectionable material according to state law.
Questions for Ryan? All right, thank you, sir. All right, next we have the use of multiple occupancy restrooms and changing areas. And this is a new law. It's in regard to Senate Bill 615. So all students in grades pre-K through 12 shall use the restroom exclusive of the sex identified on their birth certificate. So all of our restrooms are gender specific. We have girls' restrooms, we have boys' restrooms. Anyone wishing not to comply will be provided a single occupancy restroom or changing. And we do have a single occupancy restroom or changing area at every single site for those that don't want to use the restroom as defined on their birth certificate. Now, there's some guidelines on this. If a student refuses to comply, they shall be disciplined pursuant to our regular student behavior policy. Same thing on employees. If they refuse to comply, they will be disciplined pursuant to our district policy or Oklahoma law or statute based on the employee's position within the district. Now, patrons can also be removed from the premises for interfering with peaceful, orderly conduct in accordance with state statute. Now, if there is a complaint filed with the State Department of Education that the district is not complying with Oklahoma law, the Board of Education will have 15 days to request an opportunity to appear before the state board or submit a written response to address the allegations. And there are some exceptions provided. So for custodial cleanup, someone of the opposite sex may go into the restroom. Maintenance, if we have to repair a sink or a toilet or something else, or for inspection purposes, or to render emergency medical assistance. Someone of the opposite sex may go into that bathroom. Now, we had a big discussion in my superintendent's meeting last Wednesday. A lot of our students who are on IEPs need support with going to the restroom, and oftentimes the teacher is a female or a male. So what do you do in those questions? And the verdict's still out on that. So I know that's a concern, and we'll continue to monitor this and get updated with any guidance that our attorneys have for us. Any questions on multiple use?
How many of those single restrooms do you have at the high school? Just
2 or 3? I can name 3 off the top of my head.
That's what they're working on. Right.
They're technically labeled, but they're single occupancy.
Right.
Talking about-
There's one in the nurses.
Go in the girls' locker room if they're male.
There's one on the
But
3rd
that's
floor.
Final, or is that still
Anderson
going
is
through?
closed. There used to be one in Anderson.
It's final, okay.
It's 8, maybe.
a floor? Or do they, some of them have to go to a different floor? There's one on each floor.
I thought there was one on each floor as well.
There is. There's a teacher's restroom on each floor, which is oftentimes single occupancy.
Okay.
I don't know the one on this, I don't know that all of the teacher restrooms, I know the 2 in the main office are, but I don't think the men's room on the 2nd floor is. I think it's.
And that's one of the things that, you know, our teachers and our principals are talking to our students about, identifying where those single occupancy restrooms are if they choose to use one. So we're making a point to make sure our students know that those are available, and all they have to do is request to use those, and they may.
Just curious how many there were.
You know, at some of our elementary sites, we may only have one, but we have at least one at some of our smaller sites, but the high school definitely has the most. I don't know how many are at West, Adam. It's our 2nd largest site.
West
we just
and
had
east,
one.
I think. You know, those high school west and east, you know,
Well, those
At West?
2-story.
At West?
yeah.
And
Okay.
then, I mean, you can still use locker rooms that aren't being used during the day, you know. So that doesn't count those.
Okay.
Even here, we have a single occupancy. One.
We have enough, so someone can't say, well, I couldn't find one.
Correct.
You know, That's all I wanted to know.
Correct. And you know, at Solon's, with the new restrooms behind the press box, there's some family restrooms there, so we do have them there as well. Now, I know some schools are having to bring in like porta potties because they don't have that option, but we do have that option at every one of our facilities.
Good. I would hate for us to have to bring in porta potties.
Yes, no, we wouldn't want to do that. Okay, the next section is section 4 on instruction, and it's in regard to selection of library books for the media center, and this is just a revised policy. Delana's going to talk to you about it.
Good evening. Section 4 of our PCPS district policy book in instruction deals with media center and the selection of library books and materials. I will say our existing policy or pre-existing policy before new laws and advisement was extensive, above and beyond, especially in the selection process. And if there was an inquiry or a citizen's request for review, we have a very, very extensive policy already in place. So what I did was go through the RFR guidance and suggestions of changes. The 3 items I found were we lacked a definition of materials. So we'll add a definition of materials, which are the policy of the district to require the material, wait, that's not it. Yeah, no, it is. Used in the school library media program, including print materials, non-print materials, multimedia resources, equipment, and supplies. That's the definition of materials that we will add to our existing policy. The second is including community standards in the existing selection criteria. We have, again, a very extensive list that is bulleted of selection criteria, and we will add community standards in that list. And then finally, we will include specifications of censorship in the citizens' request for review section. That basically means there are laws against censorship. Any parent can censor what their own child reads or has access to, and our current system, Destiny, which I did a little research in our libraries, just out of curiosity, I wanted to see what their practices were. And our checkout software, Destiny, our librarians, if they got a phone call or an administrator got a phone call from an individual parent and they said, I don't want my child reading Huck Finn, and they could put a warning in the system that when that student chose to check out that book, the warning will come up and the student can't check out that book. So we have a very extensive system for parents to have that right to say what their own child does or doesn't have access to in our materials. So that is added into, but a parent cannot choose what all students read or have access to. Because we're a public school and a free and equal opportunity of education is part of our foundation. So we're covering that individual parent desire to censor what their child has access to, but we're also providing materials to all children. Any questions about that?
Great.
All right.
Okay. Next, we have another instruction policy. It's student promotion and retention and student pass failure of a course. This is a revised policy, and these revisions are required. So Terry's going to talk to you about these revisions.
Like Shelley said, we have had policy in place for our Reading Sufficiency Act. This mainly has to do with students kindergarten through 3rd grade, but specifically in 3rd grade because that's the grade that a student can be held back if they do not meet grade level proficiency or one of the good cause exemptions set forth by the state. So this particular part of the policy has to do with mid-year promotion. This law has always had in it a provision for a mid-year promotion, but there are strings attached to it. So what that means is if a third grade student gets retained because they are not at grade level proficiency on STAR, they fail the OSTP, like they don't meet RSA requirements on the OSTP, and they don't meet any of the good cause exemptions set forth by the state, they will be retained. If a student reading proficiency team does not move them forward, you can see that there's a lot to it. But they can be mid-year promoted if they meet a 4.1 grade level on the STAR reading assessment, or if they meet the 45th percentile on the Iowa test, which is given to all those students during our summer school. Or if they meet all the provisions on a portfolio, which is very extensive. So to date, since this all came about many years ago, when I was down there even, we have mid-year promoted one student. So it's really not a thing that affects our students very much, but it is something that we have to have in place. And currently, our policy says that they can promote up into Labor Day. And in this one, it said it had like I think a November date that it had set forth that they could still be promoted. So basically, they have to meet those requirements, and it just does not happen very often.
Sounds like
because it's hard to get those if you're a struggling reader just in a few months.
these are students that have already, they would have gone through summer school and then they would have been
Correct.
testing. And there's a lot that they would have had to do to get.
Yeah, we test, I give them the Iowa test every year, every third grader in summer school. And we do have some that meet the 45th percentile. Normally, when they've met the 45th percentile that would move them on, they had also met it in STAR. And so they're pretty comparable assessments.
Any questions there? Okay, next is Section 5, Business Management. This is a required policy. It's updated. It changed last year. Now it's changing back. So Brenda's going to talk to you about that.
Prior to November of 2021, sealed bids were required for all contracts involving expenditures of $50,000 or more. Last November, they changed it to $100,000 or more. I guess they decided that they wanted to back off of that to a point. So now with the Public Competitive Bidding Act, sealed bids are required for expenditures of more than $100,000 or for any construction management trade contract or subcontract exceeding $50,000. So like if you have your construction managers, their subcontracts, they do have to have the competitive bidding for contracts, sealed bids for $50,000 or more. So that's the only change that I guess it was pretty, they were trying to get out of the $50,000 and raise it to $100,000 because of the price of things and the cost, but then they decided that was too wide open for the subcontract, so they reduced that part back down to $50,000.
Questions there? All right, Section 6 is on personnel. It is required. It's in regard to leaves and vacations and employee association leave.
All right, so for this, an employee may request a leave of absence to hold an office as an officer of a district, state, or national employee association, and it has to have a clear beginning and end date, so you know how long their absence will be. You, all the board, could grant that request, but the leave would be without pay and without any benefits from the district. And during the leave, the employee's position with the district would be maintained without any advancement on the salary scale, and they wouldn't get any accrual of leave. And they would also not get any credit with the teacher's retirement system. We as a district would also be prohibited from housing them, giving them district office space during that time. They'd have to provide that on their own.
And
Questions?
Previously, that was all allowed, so. More like a leave of absence. Next is on Section 7. It's in regard to students. It's the student transfer policy. And if you'll remember, that went into play in January of 2022, and it's had multiple changes even while session was open. And then we've got some either further changes. So Delana's going to talk to you about that.
This one, Superintendent Errett has kept us all apprised on very, very well. The RFR guidance, we need to add virtual capacity numbers. That will be new. And then they also add, if we accept an open transfer student because there's capacity for that student, and then through that school year, the principal, for any of the 3 reasons, poor attendance, poor behavior, or didn't meet the rules of the behavior rules basically of the school, we have to notify, or the principal has to notify the parents before July 15th in writing that student will be denied a transfer for the next school year. So those 2 stipulations are new to the student transfers. And I think, are you speaking about the numbers? Or
Sure, I'll talk
okay.
about the numbers. We've had to make some changes along the way. In this policy, we're recommending for a set number based on the number of teachers at the elementary site or the number of ELA teachers at the secondary sites. If you'll remember, a couple of months ago, you approved a virtual capacity. We're talking about the policy this month. The capacity level is different each time, and we have to post it quarterly on our website. I post it monthly just because it's easy to keep up with, I think, monthly, and this is for the policy. So our guidelines for pre-K through 3 that are already in board policy are 20 students per teacher. 4 and 5, 22 students per teacher. Our capacity for 6th through 8th grade is 120 per ELA teacher, and capacity for 9 through 12 is 128 per ELA teacher. And if you notice, that's a little bit larger. We do have students who take their English courses through concurrent enrollment or Edgenuity or maybe at Wildcat Academy. Our virtual capacity, we're still recommending 20 per teacher in grades K through 8, and we only have 1 teacher in PCVA K through 8. We have a lot less interest now that the pandemic is into endemic stage. We are recommending 28 students per teacher in total grades 9 through 12. We only have 1 teacher for grades 9 through 12, 1 full-time equivalent teacher. We actually have 2 teachers. One's a 0.4 and one's a 0.6 for high school virtual. So we have 1 full-time equivalent teacher. Later on, we're going to be talking about capacity level changes because based on this policy, our staffing changes constantly depending on the size of the grade level. So later on, we're going to talk about capacity limits. Okay, next we have mental health accommodations. This is a new policy and it's required, and Amy's going to talk to you about this.
There's actually 2 new policies, the next one also that's on mental health, that are both as a result of legislation. This one in particular is that beginning next school year, a parent has the option to disclose to us information if their child has been received any kind of mental health treatment, either in inpatient or emergency outpatient within the previous 24 months, so that a meeting can be held with applicable staff and the parent before starting to determine if they may need accommodations, possibly through a 504, an IEP evaluation. Right now, this is not uncommon when parents do present that information. A lot of times they're students that we were already working with that may already have some accommodations in place, that may just be adjusting that or changing what that looks like or starting that process if not already. This next one is also on mental health. It is that per statute that the district will develop and maintain a protocol for responding to students that are in having a mental health crisis in conjunction with a local mental health provider in order to prevent student suicide, self-harm, harm to others. Right now, we have existing procedures, a threat assessment procedure, self-harm assessment procedures, and so taking several of the pieces that we have and kind of streamlining that into one uniform protocol, and we're in the process of developing that. It will likely that we'll be continuing to work with Grand Lake Mental Health for that. They come in, they have the state contract for that, they respond when there's a situation in which we need their assistance for. And so as we develop that protocol, meeting with them, there may be some additional MOUs that we might need to put in place with them, in addition to the ones we have that already allow them to come in to work with students that are already clients of theirs. Any questions on those two?
All right. Next up, we have Section 7 on students. This is our student identification cards. This is a required policy.
Yeah, this is a required policy courtesy of our own Senator Bill Coleman that passed this. Essentially, what we'll be doing is, starting of school next year, we'll be issuing badges that have the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, 988, clearly identified on all school badges. We have the option to deplete our badge supply or implement it now, so we're just going to go ahead and use up the badges that we've currently purchased, and then when we roll through next school year, we'll implement that change on the badges. This is a riveting policy. You got any questions, Nancy?
No, I think it's a great idea, though.
All right.
Okay, next, this is the Save Women's Sports Act. It's required. Jason was going to present, but we have lots of athletic events tonight, so he's meeting himself coming and going. So prior to the beginning of each school year, starting this school year, a student who competes in a school activity shall sign an affidavit acknowledging the biological sex of the student at birth. Now, this is the parent. If the student is 18 years old, they can sign that affidavit on their own. So school athletic teams shall be expressly designated as males, men, or boys, females, women, or girls, or co-ed or mixed. School athletic teams designated for females, women, or girls shall not be open to the students of the male sex. Now, just so you know that all student athletes complete an affidavit of their biological sex within Rake 1, and all of our students' birth certificates are on file in our student information system, PowerSchool. Now, there was a little issue when this law first came out. We thought that the form that had to be uploaded to Rank 1 had to be notarized. Our attorneys came back, got some clarification, so that form can just be uploaded, signed by parents younger than 18 or the student older than 18. Any questions in regard to the Save Women's Sports Act?
What is it called, the form?
Got a question, Nancy?
Sports, oh, no, sorry, I'm just.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, then we have some housekeeping with our policies. We need to update the names of responsible administrators to relevant policies, and it's scattered throughout the policy book. We need to replace Adam Leeming as Executive Director of Operations to Adam Leeming, Assistant Superintendent, and that's in various policies, but you will have to approve that.
Let me think about it.
Any questions there? You're not approving that one? Okay, so just to remind you, it's required by law to accept public comments on policy changes for 30 days. We'll have an email out there on our website that patrons can send us public comments on these policies, and then we will bring these back to you in October and not go over everything with you, but that will be a time for you to consider for approval in our October Board of Education meeting. Annual policy update. All right, so I'm going to move on to the transfer capacity level changes. Now, we have changed about every level with the exception of 4. If you'll remember, the 20, pre-K through 3, 22, 4, and 5, 6 through 8, 120 per ELA teacher, 9 through 12, 128 per ELA teacher, PCVA, K through 8, 20, and PCVA 9 through 12, 28. So we don't have to change anything in pre-K. We still have 11 pre-K teachers, nothing changed. In kindergarten, we're recommending, or I'm recommending, moving from 300 to 280. We moved a kindergarten teacher to third grade at Lincoln, so we're down one kindergarten teacher. So obviously, the capacity level will need to change. In first grade, the recommendation is to move from 300 to 320. We added a first grade at Woodlands, so we're up a first grade teacher at Woodlands. All right, second grade, the recommendation is to decrease from 300 to 280. We moved a second to fourth at Garfield, so the teacher was teaching second grade. They moved to fourth because of the class size, so we're up one teacher. In third grade, the recommendation is to move from 280 to 300. We moved a kindergarten teacher to third grade at Lincoln just because of numbers, so we're up a third grade at Lincoln. Fourth grade, remember, this is where we allow for 22. Currently, it's set at 286. The recommendation is 308. We actually added a section of fourth to Garfield, and we moved a fifth grade teacher from Union to fourth grade at Garfield. So consequently, we're going to change the fifth grade recommendation from 308 to 264. Now, we're down two fifth grade teachers. We moved a fifth from Union to fourth at Woodlands, and then we didn't replace a fifth grade teacher at Garfield because the fourth grade class was really small going into fifth grade. So we're technically down two fifth grade teachers. We are going to remain constant at 360 in sixth grade because we have 3 ELA teachers in sixth grade. We actually changed seventh grade from 360 to 370 this summer because we added 10 spots to ensure students from McCord had spots in April of 2022. McCord kids are our kids, but we had a lot of parents nervous. Okay, you're full. No, but you're a resident. So we changed that. We're moving that back to 360 or asking you to consider that. In eighth grade, we're maintaining at 360. We have 3 ELA teachers at eighth grade. Ninth grade, 2 recommendations on ninth grade. We had a large eighth grade class last year, so we increased ninth grade to 360, maybe in May or June. The recommendation is to move to 320. We added 20 spots for private school students in April of 2022, just in case they weren't residents. And we are down 0.7 teachers. So we had, our athletic trainer was teaching language arts, and then we had an English teacher who was teaching some language arts and some psychology, and they're no longer with us. So total down 0.7. So the recommendation is to move from 360 to 320. Same thing in 10th grade. We were at 340. Let's move to 320 since we're down 0.7 teachers. Same thing for juniors, 340 to 320. Same thing for seniors, 340 to 320. Last time that we changed capacity or added capacity for PCVA, we set, the recommendation was to set 20 total students per teacher. K through 8 was 20. 9 through 12 was 20. The recommendation is to change 9 through 12 to 28, just so that we're commensurate with our high school numbers. And with Edgenuity for our elementary school-age children, they recommend 35 total, and for 9 through 12, it's 50 total per teacher. So we're kind of giving a little leeway there. Now, I have all of these recommendations for you. So it's everything except those 4 grade levels. It matches the policy based on the number of teachers and the number of ELA teachers. Now, every time we change these capacity limits, it doesn't change policy. The policy just tells us the teachers or the criteria that we're going to use. Now, as of today, I want you to know we are lean and mean. We had a lot of available transfer spaces last year. I had shared this with you. On the left, you can see if you approve these capacity limits tonight, you will see the grade level, then the capacity limit pending approval, and our current enrollment, and then the transfer seats available. We don't have to post the transfer seats available online, but I just always do because I just use this little format. So the only place we have spots for kids would be 4th grade, 6th grade, and let me tell you why. In 6th grade, we had a very small 5th grade class last year. So, and then we've got room for 8th graders. The high school has over 1,400 students. Last year at this time, we had 1,260. That's a lot more students. However, a lot of our PCVA students are now back in traditional brick and mortar because of the pandemic. People didn't, well, contact tracing, people didn't want their kids going in and out. Now that that's no longer recommended, we have more kids at the high school. Any questions there? Okay, so the next item is consideration for approval. I won't read through those again, but that's the motion that you will consider.
Make a motion to approve 5.
And I will second.
Okay.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Number 6, consent agenda. Motion required for the approval of the consent agenda as printed or as amended. Board members may, however, call for a separate vote on any or all items listed on the consent agenda. The first one is the agenda with commentary. The second is the minutes for August 8th, 2022, regular board meeting, and August 19th, 2022, special board meeting. Number 3, contracts and agreements under $10,000.
Move for approval.
Second.
Call for vote.
Okay, Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Okay, number 7 is action items and a motion required. This is consideration and take action on the following district financial reports. And most of these are budget things or change orders or,
Yeah, we had a good discussion. Robin's not here, so I can't talk about him, but
okay.
we made a motion to approve. We had a good meeting.
So approve A through N.
I'll second that.
Okay. Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
It's really easier when he's here to talk about it.
Goes a little quicker too sometimes. Okay, number 2, consideration and take action on bid packages, recommended quotes, and a bid package rejection for the Anderson STEM renovation project. A bid package was previously approved at the August 19th special board meeting totaling $1,742,950. Current estimated construction DMP is $6,986,431.
We had a good discussion on these items at the meetings, but unless, I'll just make a motion to approve them.
Any questions for
We
Madam
went through
on
it so
either?
much. Unless you
Adam,
girls
you
have
wanna
some
talk?
questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Okay,
But I can let Don,
okay.
I'm just here, I'll back clean up for him if he
Okay.
misses any easy ones.
It was really good. They had some good, really good bids, and stuff turned out well under than what we expected, so,
Oh, that's always good.
I haven't heard that lately.
No.
yeah, coming in real good so far. I think there were some they didn't get, didn't we have some we're gonna have to rebid or some?
Yeah, so at the end
They
of this.
didn't bid at all is what the
Yeah,
deal was.
so this is a modified GMP. It's a tentative. You'll get the full one after our bid opening at the end of this month, the 27th, for the October board meeting. This will allow us to get started on some of those preliminary work that we can get going in.
The biggest thing was I asked them, we need to get cranked up, we need to get dirt moving, we can get some stuff going, and we couldn't
Things that
do it
we can do
without
right
these
now.
approvals, so
Okay.
it's working out good.
All right, sounds good.
You want to say anything else? Adam?
I make,
good.
Okay.
I mean, as long as you approve it, then.
Yeah.
Are you making a motion?
Yeah, I did, I remade it.
Okay, I'll second it.
Okay. Going to vote on A through C.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Number 3, consideration and take action on accepting subcontractor bids for the Union Re-Roof project for construction manager report. The total base bid construction GMP is $895,831.
Yeah, I'd like a motion to approve 3.
I second the vote.
Okay.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye. Okay, change order number 1 from Kyler Construction Group. The commentary is, this is the final change order to return contingency and allowance balances to PCPS. Contingency amount is $15,755, and allowance balance is $15,743, for a total of $31,498, returning to PCPS. Do we have to vote on that?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, I'll move, we
Okay.
approve that change order so we can get that money back.
Nice.
Sounds good to me.
I like getting money back.
Yes, I do too.
I'll second that. That just goes back into,
Back into the
It just stays in the bond.
bond funds.
okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we'll take care of it.
bathroom.
Trying to get those seats.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Okay, number 5, consideration to take action on the estimate of needs for fiscal year '23.
I make a motion, we approve the estimate of needs.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay,
Good, I don't have to read it.
good. Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Okay, number 6, consideration to take action on the following contracts and agreements. We have A through D. Do we need to talk about any of
Just
these?
read each one of them.
What, pardon?
Just read each
Read
one of
each one of them?
Yeah, I can give you a little bit of commentary on each one, so
Okay.
if you'll read each one.
Agreement with Cengage Learning for student books.
Okay, this is for East Middle School, and each school kind of looks at their needs, and they kind of looked at their data, their common formative assessment, their state testing data, and they've worked in a supplemental curriculum program to their math program. They can use this in conjunction with their regular curriculum. In interventions, remediation, but that is a $29,000 agreement. It's a 6-year agreement, so it's about $5,000 a year, and Mr. Crocker is paying that out of his Title I funds and his instructional budget.
All right, okay, we can vote on these all together, though, after we
Yes.
finish. Okay, B, agreement with Huddle to provide video review.
Okay, this provides video review and performance analysis for our sports teams, and it helps with scholarships, sending information to colleges, sending film to colleges. It is $20,000 per year. Athletics will kick in $3,500. Team radio is going to kick in $6,500 because it can help with the live streaming as well. And then some of our booster clubs have agreed to supplement $10,000 booster clubs and coaches' activity funds. And this was a question that came up in Property Finance Committee meeting. There is an opt-out clause. So it is a 3-year agreement, but we can opt out if any of the booster clubs or the coaches' activity funds or coaches decide not to participate in that. But it's something that several of our booster clubs are interested in.
All right, number C, agreement with Mad Science for school assemblies.
Yes, Mad Science is something that we've done every year for several years, and it's great hands-on STEM assemblies for our kids. They have a whole group assembly for our students, and then they do stations where classes can come in and do some hands-on activities, and then they have a parent night. And this is for all of our elementary schools and Washington Pre-K, and it's paid for out of Title IV funds.
Okay. D, consideration and take action to approve an agreement with KW Select Keller Williams Realty for brokerage services for the sale of school property.
We finally have a clear title on the Finley property, so we're ready to put that on the market.
Okay, and that's the west.
Yes,
Of
out
the
toward
west.
the borders between Tonkawa and Ponca City Public Schools.
Okay.
I make a motion for A through D.
I'll second the vote.
Go for it.
Okay, Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Okay, number 7, motion and vote to convene an executive session for the following purposes: to discuss the possible termination, reassignment, resignation, and employment of personnel on the attached detailed personnel report, to discuss negotiations, to discuss the purpose or appraisal of real property, and to discuss confidential conversations with the board's attorney concerning pending claims and litigations. Do I have a motion for an executive session?
I'll make a motion. Oh, or, no, go for it, and I'll second.
Made a motion by Anna and
Anna?
Nancy seconded.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye?
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Yeah.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
We are in executive
Yeah.
session.
Oh, this varsity.
We're going back into executive session.
Junior varsity, I thought. it was like-
Open session, sorry.
Oh, better go.
Do we need to vote that? No. Number 9, recital by the board president that minutes of executive session were kept by the board minutes clerk and will remain confidential. Did,
I think he knows.
okay.
He's in there.
Okay.
Okay, so I keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. 10, consideration and take action on recommendations for termination, reassignment, resignation, and employment of personnel. And we didn't have anything.
Move for approval.
Yeah.
Move to approve. We did have a
Okay.
board personnel
Okay.
report.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Move to approve.
I'll second.
Rowland, second.
I think Roland second.
Yep.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Okay. Any new business?
No new business.
Okay.
Motion
Then I'm
adjourned.
going to declare adjourned.